Hello, people of the internet and outer net. This is the Ninja Nick 333, and we are here for the first round of the European International Championships of the Pokemon trading card game. We have Rafal, I believe, might be how you pronounce that. I'm not entirely sure. With the Gardevoir EX deck with the Mewtwo V Union and Tord Recleb on the right without Mewtwo V Union, just the straight Gardevoir EX deck. It's a little unfortunate that now Tord knows exactly what Rafal is playing and vice versa here, because they just decide to put that right in the right behind them where they can easily see that on those big, huge screens. So that is, that's some information you don't want your opponent knowing, but because that could influence which Pokemon they start in the matchup. But looks like it's not really going to matter. Rafal's going to start with that Ralts, and Tord is going to start with the Zacian V. Not usually something you want to start with. You usually want to pull that out the turn you need it and retreat into it, power it all up in one turn. Tord's going to use this Battle VIP Pass. Since it's his first turn, he is allowed to search his deck for 2 basic Pokemon, put them right onto the bench. Looks like he's going to go for a Radiant Greninja and a Ralts. You want to get as many Ralts into play as possible on turn 1 so that you can evolve them into Kirlia, so that then you can evolve them into Gardevoir. Sometimes these Gardevoir decks will play the Mirage Step Kirlia. It's a lot like Froggedier's Water Duplicates, where it allows you to search your deck for 3 Kirlia and put them directly to the bench. That way you can get your 3 Refinement Kirlias out with the first Kirlia's attack. But a lot of these decks actually just opt to try to Battle VIP Pass into all their Ralts turn 1, and then evolve those up into Kirlia the next turn, and then evolve those up into Gardevoir the next turn, and etc, etc. It'll be interesting to see if Tord has the rare candies in his deck, because that would help him set up those Gardevoirs as well, especially if he does have Mirage Step. I think if you're playing Mirage Step, you really should be playing rare candy, but some versions of the deck don't play it, especially that Mewtwo V Union version that Rafal is playing on the left. But if you're Tord here, you need to get more Ralts into play. He's going to use that concealed cards with the Greninja, going to discard a Psychic Energy. That's exactly where you want it, in the discard pile, in order to draw 2 cards. Thankfully, we get a Ralts off that second draw, and we're just going to attach to the Zacian V here. And his hand looks pretty dead. There is a Kirlia in there. The only supporter in hand is a Worker. You can't even play that this turn because it's your first turn going first, so you usually want to hold that Worker for Path to the Peak. If you're playing against a deck that would play Path to the Peak, such as Mew, you use the Worker to discard it, because once Path to the Peak is in play, Gardevoir EX's ability just completely shuts off. It has the ability Psychic Embrace, where you can take Psychic Energies from your discard and put them onto your Psychic Pokemon in play. You just put 2 damage counters on those Pokemon when you attach them. For each energy. You can't knock out one of your own Pokemon with that ability, which is honestly a little unfortunate, because there are instances where that would actually benefit you, especially in the next set when that Iono card is printed, very much similar to the N card that we used to have. Looks like we're going to go for the level ball here for Rafal. We're probably going to be getting, it looks like he's got that alternate art Mew. So that's going to be his preferred way to start setting up. Hopefully he's going to get a Battle VIP Pass off that Mew. Maybe he'll retreat the Ralts into it. Use the, Mysterious Tail ability in order to find Battle VIP Pass. That would be a pretty great way to start this turn here. Usually if Gardevoir gets a couple Battle VIP Pass out, they're completely set up. There is an Ultra Ball as well. You probably want to save that for Gardevoirs later in the game, but you do have one Gardevoir already in hand, the EX. He has that full art there, you can see. So we are going to use Mew's Mysterious Tail, and if this whiffs, that's going to be a pretty big whiff, and Tord's going to be in the driver's seat for the rest of the game. Looks like we do get a level ball that will be able to be used to get maybe another Mew, but more likely just another Ralts. It's unlikely, since you've already used your one retreat for the turn. I mean, this deck doesn't really play switching cards all that often, so you're not going to really be seeing a way to use a second Mew this game. So you're just going to go for a second Ralts and be done with it here. But yeah, we do see there are quite a lot of Mewtwo V Union pieces in the deck. I couldn't quite tell if that was 3 or 4. I want to say that's all 4 pieces. but we have not seen the prize cards for both of these players yet. So we're going to have to see if any of those important parts were prized. Usually with the Mewtwo V-Union version, you just usually use your last attack of the game with the Mewtwo V-Union. You rarely put it out earlier than that, at least in my testing, because it's very much a liability. It does give away 3 prize cards when it is knocked out. And since you have to load up 3 to 4 energies on it in order to attack, you're usually sitting there with only 250 HP left. So that is not a good number to be sitting at for a 3 prize Pokemon. Looks like we are going to go for the Zacian V. I'm actually a little surprised by that. Maybe he's just trying to power up his own Zacian in order to try to counter towards Zacian. But I don't feel like that's the play you want to go for. I think you either hold the Ultra Ball or you go for the next Ralts and just hope you top deck something better. Hope that Tord doesn't knock out the Mew and allows you to use Mysterious Tail yet again. So in this situation, it's actually benefiting Tord that he did start the Zacian, because now he is going to be able to take a knockout on this turn. So we are going to concealed cards yet again here for Tord, draw 2 more cards. We do get a Miriam. That's another way to draw cards. You do have to shuffle a Pokemon back from your discard pile into your deck in order to even get the draw 3, I do believe. So you're more likely going to be seeing the worker here to draw more cards. We do have a Gardevoir EX. The stream is showing Rare Candy on the screen. I don't believe... Is that the second to last card in his hand there next to the Miriam? I mean, if he has Rare Candy, he could go in with the Gardevoir EX now. But I think he'd prefer to Rare Candy into Shining Arcana Gardevoir to draw even more cards. We are going to see the first evolution of Kirlia here after we've used that worker. We are going to be able to discard a card and draw 2 more cards. We're going to get rid of the Collapse Stadium. Not really useful in this matchup. Unfortunate that now we have a Battle VIP Pass. That's not super useful here. So if we do have that Rare Candy, maybe go in with the Gardevoir now. You don't really have to. You can just hold off until the next turn even. Yeah, I'm not sure which that trainer card is. I can't tell by the art. Looks like we are going to go in with a second Kirlia. We have that now, so we are going to be able to discard yet another card and draw 2 more cards. Looks like we get yet another Battle VIP Pass. You can kind of see how this Gardevoir deck works, is it either gets all of its Battle VIP Passes turn 1, or it gets them all on turn 2, and there's no in between here. That is a Rare Candy. Okay, so that is just a, looks like a Diamond and Pearl era art. I gotta get used to my older arts. It's been so long since Rare Candy's actually been a playable card. This is the only deck in the format that's really a Stage 2 deck. It really utilizes that well. I mean, I guess the Dialga V-Star can Rare Candy into Magnezone and Magnezone Beast. Or, no, the EX. Magnezone EX and then the regular Magnezone. Rafal here has an awful setup here. He just evolves to the Kirlia. He'll be able to discard to draw 3. He is going to Miriam the one Pokemon, the one Mew, back into his deck, shuffle that up, and he will be able to draw 3 cards. I almost would have rathered him discard the Gardevoir, draw 2 with the Refinement, and then Miriam if he didn't draw a better supporter like Research. A lot of these decks, I don't know, if they're playing lists like Japan, they're not playing Research, but that is 100% necessary of a card in Gardevoir, in my opinion, playing Research. A lot of the Rare Candy decks in the past have gotten a lot of use out of things like Research. And yep, we're just going to see... Oh, okay, that's not too bad. We see the Refinement getting rid of the Battle VIP Pass. We get both Bog Crystal and Level Ball. I think you just drop both of those right now for 2 more Ralts. You need to get set up. You could even actually go for the Mew. You could have retreated your Manaphy into the Mew, but... Did he retreat already this turn? Did he retreat the Ralts into the Manaphy? I don't remember the Manaphy being there last turn. I might have missed that. But we are going to search our deck. Looks like we are eyeing up the Ralts here. We got to get as many Ralts into play as possible here. And looks like we are level balling for Kirlia and Fog Crystalling for Ralts. Okay, not sure if I agree with that, because now if Tord just goes boss KO Ralts, you're still hurting for more Ralts in play. Yeah, I would have preferred to see 2 Ralts come off of that and just hope for a good top deck. You still have the Kirlia to hopefully draw more cards. And even if the Kirlia got boss KO'd, then, you know, at least there's more Pokemon in play that you can evolve into Kirlias. And it looks like we are going to go for just the Roar of the Sword yet again. This would be pretty great if Tord is able to pop off. He has that Gardevoir EX in hand already. As long as he can get a boss's orders, if he doesn't have that already, he can, or even Serena, he could bring up that Zacian V and go for a knockout with his own this turn. Let's see. So Storm Slash on Zacian V is the same as the Brainwave on the... Yep, there's research in hand now. It's the same as the Brainwave attack on the Shining Arcana Gardevoir. They both do 60 plus 30 for each psychic energy on the Pokemon. Zacian V can hit harder because it has more HP, so you can use more Psychic Embrace abilities from the Gardevoir EX onto it in order to load up even more energy, hit even harder. So you can usually put 10 energies from your discard total onto a Zacian V if you really have to, off of one Gardevoir EX. As long as you have that many in your discard pile. A lot of these decks only play 10 energies or 11, usually 11. So if you are going to put 10 onto one Zacian, you run the risk of losing to a boss's orders. Kirlia does have a 2 retreat cost, so even with the 1 energy you would have left, it will never be able to retreat because all of your energy will be stuck on that Zacian. So that's always something that you have to be careful of, especially in matchups such as Goodra V-Star, where you really do have to go for the 10 energy attack sometimes. Looks like Tord is just going to Fog Crystal his way into yet another Ralts. He's taking his time here getting set up, but he has the bigger hand, he has the better hand, and he has the better board presence here. So in a matchup of Gardevoir versus Gardevoir, I would not be surprised if Tord just takes this game. If we were able to see that boss's orders play, like I mentioned, to get rid of the Zacian V this turn, if I were Rafal, I would just end up scooping and going to the next game. Also, what is with Shaky Cam here? You'd think they'd be able to stabilize their camera, but I guess not. It's just gonna, it's just, I apologize for this. It's not me, I promise. It's like the one time I'm happy they went to the, like, the hand cam. Oh my god, it's just shaking like crazy. So we are going to get yet another Ralts with this level ball, so we will be able to bench a couple more Ralts if we want to. I don't see any reason why not to bench the Ralts. It only has a 1 retreat cost. You can always get a Gardevoir EX into play to just put 1 energy onto it so it can retreat easily. All at the cost of just 2 damage counters, which is not too bad. Is that a penny? Ooh, interesting. So Penny puts a basic Pokemon and all cards attached to it back into your hand, so that would be used to pick up something like Zacian. I think it's a benched basic Pokemon, right? Some of these cards are a little new, so I'm not entirely well versed on all of them. But I do believe that that's how it is. Maybe it's just pick up a basic Pokemon, so you could always pick up your Zacian that way. I'm gonna have to look that up now. CG. Put one of your basic Pokemon and all attached cards into your hand, so yeah, you could do that. You could pick up an active Zacian V. That's actually a way around the bosses to lose, because you could pick up your Zacian, your energies go back to your hand, you just discard them again, and then you get around that. Penny is an actual very good inclusion into this deck with the Zacian. I didn't think of that. See, Tord's the one with the big brains here. Looks like he also has a Luminion. He's going to go Ultra Ball for Luminion for boss's orders. And he is going to be able to bring up whatever he wants here. It's either going to be that Zacian V of his opponent's, or it's going to be the Ralt to prevent it from evolving. Oh no, he's going for the Kirlia. See, you know your opponent has another Kirlia in hand. So, would I guess so, yeah. I guess going for the Kirlia is correct. Because again, you know that your opponent will not be able to evolve. You force the Ralts to evolve into Kirlia for him to draw cards, which means it will not be evolving into Gardevoir, either Gardevoir. So I do think that that's actually a good play. Very heads up from Tord there. He also plays Collapse Stadium after getting a 5th bench Pokemon into play, just to discard that Luminion as well. He doesn't want to keep that in play at all. You can also use the Penny to just recycle the Luminion as well, put it back in your hand. So that is another use of Penny here. We are just going to go Storm Slash with the Zacian and take the knockout here. In a world where your opponent has a rare candy, you could see your Zacian V go down to their Zacian V. But then all that you do is put Shining Arcana Gardevoir into play and kind of win. So, Tord is, again, in a very good spot. I don't see any way where he loses this game at this point. He's taken 2 prize cards. I'm not sure why. Yeah, okay, they did just update it. We do see Refinement after evolving. We have a Serena in hand. You can use that to discard the Mewtwo piece. Fog Crystal to maybe get another Ralts or the Mew into play. I'm not sure what the Mew really does for you anymore at this point. Yeah, imagine being selected to be on stream against Tord in the first round of the tournament. That's gotta suck. I had to hit, what was it? Round 1 of Virginia Regionals in, like, 2018 season, I want to say. I hit Igor Costa that first round. We should have tied, but I screwed up game 2. Gave him the win 2-0. We were playing a Zoroark's Mirror, and I prized my Sudowoodo. When I finally got it off my prize cards, I immediately, like, benched it on my next turn, and then he's just like, okay, I'm just going to discard my damaged Zoroark, and now I have no Zoroarks in play, and I'm just going to hit you with Lele's for the rest of the game, and I was sad. Looks like we're going to see the Serena is going to discard the Mewtwo piece. We're going to draw until we have 5 cards in our hand here. Just some more dead cards, nothing really good there. I mean, if I were Rafal, I would just be scooping and going to the next game. You've already used 28 minutes on the clock. You need to win 2 games. This is best of 3. So at this point, you're just giving more advantage to Tord by giving him a long win in game 1. If game 2 doesn't finish, the match goes to Tord. So yeah, if you know that you're going to lose at this point, Tord's already taken 2 prize cards in a matchup that's Gardevoir versus Gardevoir like this. I mean, your opponent has 2 Kirlias and a Ralts in play. You're still not attacking this turn. You're not going to be able to knock out their Zacian. Like, maybe if you were attacking with your Zacian into Tord's Zacian this turn and taking the knockout, then maybe I could see a world where you don't scoop, but I'm not sure what Rafal is even looking for at this point. Like, what is his win condition? How does he come back from this? Is he just hoping to, like, get a really clutch Roxanne off next turn? I think that would be the best. Yeah, next turn, just knock out the Zacian while doing a Roxanne. Hope that Tord doesn't draw into Gardevoirs. You gotta imagine that at this point, Tord will be evolving into Gardevoirs next turn. And even if you do Roxanne him, he's gonna have 2 Pokemon that can just draw him 4 more cards. Or potentially 6 cards with the Greninja, if you draw an energy. So you're gonna Roxanne them to 8. Like, I mean, what are you doing here? Looks like just another Roar of the Sword. Gonna charge up this Zacian. If Tord has yet another boss's orders, that is a very delicious knockout there. Speed the game up quite a bit. Yeah, Tord's still has that Gardevoir EX in hand. Oh, 2 of them actually. He's got the alt art and the full art. Tord discards his Roxanne. He says, I'm not going to need this. My opponent is not going to attack ever in this game. Draws the Pal Pad. That could be useful at some point. If he wants to recycle the Roxanne, I don't think you ever will, but you could always recycle the work or get rid of your own stadium and then be able to bench another Ralts. That would be funny. Tord is going to get rid of a research. Definitely don't need that. Usually when you have the big hand sizes, once you have a few Curlia established, you can always just get rid of your researches with this deck. They're not necessary. You don't want to use your researches to discard a whole bunch of cards. You're usually using more of your tech supporters later in the game, like your Miriam, like your boss's orders. We're going to see the concealed cards as well, so we've drawn an additional 6 cards this turn. With the draw for turn, that's actually 7. And now that I'm looking at Tord, he's actually, he's drawn 3 different arts of research. He has a Juniper, he has, he's going to use Penny to recycle the Greninja. Pick it up, put it back into his hand. And we're going to go in with the, we're going to go in with the with the Cresselia, with the, what's it called, Moonglow Beam or something or other. He's going to just put 20 damage on a whole bunch of different Pokemon by putting an energy on each one of these. And he will be able to, Moonglow Reverse. Move 2 damage counters from each of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So he is going to damage 4 of his Pokemon by putting energy from the discard into play. Made room for that Cresselia by picking up the Greninja. Pal pads the Penny back in. So you could potentially do it again, along with a boss's orders, because you know that's going to win you the game at some point. And we're going to knock out that Curlia that's on the bench. You can leave that Mew, that's perfectly fine. But just move those 8 damage counters right onto the Curlia, knock it out, and Tord is playing this Gardevoir deck almost like a control deck, which is actually hilarious. Wow. Yeah, beautifully played by Tord. You can see why they chose to put him on the first round here. Absolutely styling on his opponent. Leaves the Mew active so that Rafal would have to retreat. Rafal would also have to knock out the Cresselia, leaving all of Tord's attacking options still on the bench. He's got 2 Curlias that could become Shining Arcana Gardevoirs. He's got a Gardevoir that can just, EX that can just hit for 190 at any point anyway. If Tord plays Choice Belt in his deck, that would be an easy way to knock that out. I do like playing Choice Belt in my Gardevoir at this point. It also helps with the Mewtwo V-Union. You can one-shot V-Maxes with the Mewtwo V-Union that way. Because its attack does 300. So you could do 330 that way. I was playing Defiance Belt at first, but one of my friends was like, what's that for? Just Miraidon? Like, why wouldn't Choice Belt be better? And I just started thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, because I was thinking about one prizers too, but the one prizer math never matters in that regard. But yeah, man, Moonglow Reverse is pretty good. Do I have my Facebook open? I just heard the buzz. I do. It's on the screen. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. So again, what does Rafal do at this point? Because I don't see any way out of this. And he's just like tunneling into his discard pile, trying to find a way to come back from this. Shuffling his discard even. Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate when you get, like, he must be brand new. Because at this point, wouldn't you just scoop? Your opponent's ahead 3 prize cards. You have no Gardevoirs whatsoever in play. Your opponent has 2 Kirlia and a Gardevoir, along with a Zacian that's just like, I don't know what else to say about this matchup towards winning. Towards winning this game, again, if you just scoop and go to the next game, you can potentially, you know, do to Tord what you just had done to you. That Moonglow reverse Cresselia is also really good against the Lost Box matchup as well. If your opponent attacks with Snorlax, stays asleep, you can just Moonglow reverse and start knocking out the Comfeys on the bench. And not even worry about it. Just, like, let that Snorlax sleep. That's one of my favorite things to do with that card. We're going to see Fog Crystal. Tord is just continuously thinning the deck. He has everything that he needs just in that deck already. He can draw, you know, another 4 cards this turn. He's going to level ball as well. Again, just thinning out all the things that he does not want. It looks like maybe Tord's only playing 1 of the Shining Arcana Gardevoir, maybe 2. It's really all that you need. I like playing 2 in mine. I play 2 in the Mewtwo version. That's what I've been testing recently. I do think that maybe it is better to not play the Mewtwo, but then your Lost Box matchup is a lot more iffy. So Tord's just deciding what he's going to want to discard with his Kirlias here. Gonna discard a Mew, draw 2 more cards, so he's drawn 4 cards this turn. He gets a Boss's Orders. You could just knock out that Zacian this turn and then be 1 turn away from winning. If your opponent doesn't play a Rare Candy next turn, all of those Ralts will just be real easy knockouts. Yep, does 2 Psychic Embraces with the Gardevoir EX, puts 4 damage counters and 2 energies from discard onto that. We are going to see the Retreat and the Boss's Orders to bring up the Zacian V, and they will take the knockout. And again, at this point, you only have Ralts in play, and your opponent has taken 5 prize cards. So scoop the game, go to the next one, save some time, give yourself a chance to win 2 games. But nope, he's still going to continue to play it out. Maybe there's a way he can take 6 prizes this turn before that Zacian is able to finish off this game. Even if the Zacian is knocked out, you got to remember that Gardevoir EX is in play. So what's the only way that you could potentially come back from this? You have to Roxanne, Path, and knock out Zacian and both Kirlias all at the same time, while putting 20 more cards into your opponent's deck from their discard pile. Yeah, I don't know if this Gardevoir deck is actually capable of doing that. I mean, he could assemble Mewtwo V-Union potentially this turn, but what does that do either? It doesn't feel like anything, honestly. Especially since there's no way to charge it up. You would just put it into play and have to use the first attack with the Mewtwo V-Union to charge up energies on itself. And then you just get hit by a big Zacian. Yeah, and then there's the fist bump. They're going to go straight into the next game. So yeah, reflecting on game 1 here, Rafal should have scooped before Tord even went to 3 prize cards taken. But he wasted, let's see, how many, see, there was 20, they had spent 28 minutes, right, we said? I think it was. Oh, maybe it was 8, no, it might have been 18 minutes. I think they were at 38 minutes left. I could be wrong. Maybe it was 28 minutes. But, I mean, it was at least another 7 minutes that they could have saved going into this next game. And that's why I'm always an advocate for learning how to play the game before you go to one of these big, huge tournaments like this. Because you don't want to be put on stream like this, because, like, first of all, you don't have a choice whether you go on stream or not. If they pick your table, you have to go up. So you don't want to make a fool of yourself. So, like, actually know what you're doing. Know your deck inside and out. Practice, practice, practice. Make sure that you are aware of how to play the clock. Make sure that you can finish your best of 3 in 50 minutes. Because otherwise, you're not going to make it to the second day of the tournament, let alone win the tournament, you know? Also, are those new chairs Maxnomic? They look pretty cushy. I like my new chair, though. Mine's a lazy boy. I used to have a DX Racer, but it was like 7 years old at least. I wore that thing out. There was no padding left in that thing. And I would not say it was the most comfortable thing to begin with. Yep, so both players shuffling up. Tord really knows how to play at an adequate pace, I will say. He knows that he won a long game 1. Whether he knows he'll win this game or not, he might continue playing at the same pace to make sure that this game ties if he is in a more losing position. Or if he ends up losing this game and going to a game 3, we'll see what's called Turbo Tord come out. And oh my god, Tord prizes triple battle VIP pass. And his opponent also prizes 1 along with 2 level balls. So again, we're going to have to see how consistent these decks are going to be. These Gardevoir decks are not the most consistent thing. We do see a start of the Ralts and the start of the Radiant Greninja. So yeah, you definitely don't want to start Ralts if you can avoid it. You'd rather have that on the bench at all times. We're going to see double Fog Crystal. If you are one of those people that says, oh, so you failed the first one, I want you to smack yourself in the mouth as hard as you can and then never open your mouth again. Because it's very obvious that he is playing both of those Fog Crystals. He is trying to save time, just doing both actions at the same time. So we are going to see, yet again, the Zacian V and the Ralts. Again, not really sure why we're going Zacian V this early here. Maybe he wants to replicate Tord's start in the previous game. I think Tord just kind of got lucky. I think the Zacian V start was supposed to be bad from Tord. It just happened to work for him in that instance. Because, you know, his opponent had nothing. And he was just able to roar the sword and attach for turn. And then be able to attack turn 2. So we're going to see the retreat of the Ralts. We're going to go into the Mew. Maybe we'll see a Battle VIP pass from Rafal here. And we do. There is a Battle VIP pass, and he goes for the level ball instead. I'm confused. So you can level ball for 1 Ralts, or, oh, no, he's going to go for a Kirlia. Yeah, no, I would have Battle VIP passed for Ralts and Radiant Greninja. He has an energy in hand, right? He could have used concealed cards this turn. So yeah, so not only is that letting you have 2 less basic Pokemon in play, but 2 less cards drawn for the turn as well. So I don't think he prized it. I don't think I missed him prizing a Radiant Greninja. He's got double Kirlia in hand. Yeah, he could have picked the Battle VIP pass. And why would you not? Especially since this is the only turn where you can play Battle VIP pass. It was in there. Why not do that? And then you still have the maximum amount of odds to draw into your Kirlias off of your Kirlias on the next turn. So you could potentially draw 6 cards with Kirlias if you have 3 Ralts in play turn 1. As opposed to now, you're guaranteeing you can only get 4 cards drawn with Kirlia because you only have 2 Ralts. So yeah, I think that was a pretty awful decision on Rafal's part there. Yeah, I don't see any world where you don't Battle VIP pass. But anyway, Tord is looking at his hand. He does not like it. Looks like he's going to try to stall a little bit. He's just going to Boss's Orders a Ralts because he's got nothing else really going on in hand. He's got a Gardevoir EX and a Shining Arcana Gardevoir, along with a Miriam, which he can't play because there's no Pokemon in his discard pile. So there is no way for him to draw cards No Kirlias, no nothing, even for next turn. He's going to have to get a Pokemon knocked out for him to even use a Miriam. So hopefully he will top deck something a little bit better next turn. Even if it is a research, we're going to probably see him use it. And this is the opportunity that Rafal is really looking for here. Smartly retreats the Ralts before evolving it, because the Ralts has a 1 retreat cost and the Kirlia has a 2 retreat cost. Also, if your opponent judged you on the previous turn, you level balled for nothing. Yeah, so if Tord went turn 1 Judge, then Rafal would have lost to that Kirlia as well anyway. And Judge is a really popular card in this format. So that's just another reason why to not level ball for Kirlia turn 1. So we're going to see a Refinement discarding a Psychic Energy, and hey, look, it's a Battle VIP Pass. That's a pretty good card, right? If only he was able to get one of those turn 1. I gotta stop. So he does get 4 cards off of those Kirlias, as I said. And, I mean, he's got a Research. He could play Research. He's going to go for the Mew first. I disagree. I would have gone for the Mew after the Research, because the Mew's only going to find you an item card anyway. You could potentially draw into, like, another Ralts, and then you wouldn't have to play a Fog Crystal. You could, like, Fog Crystal for a Psychic Energy. I mean, I guess you could Fog Crystal for Psychic Energy now and then Research, and that's not terrible. That gives you 1 more energy in the discard pile. It thins your deck of 1 more card. So I guess specifically, since there was a Fog Crystal there, it doesn't really matter, but of course he's going to go for the Ralts instead, so... Yeah, I don't think that that maximizes your chances of getting the most Ralts in play on this turn. Because, yeah, you could have... Yeah, you could have researched into the Fog Crystal, and then used the Mew after that to find maybe a Level Ball. And then you'd have double Ralts on the board. But we are going to see the Research now. Going to draw a whole bunch of Battle VIP passes. Would have been nice to thin one of those out of the deck. And they only have 13 minutes left. So 13 minutes to finish this game and play the next game as well. Honestly, if I was Tord, even though my start was absolutely abysmal, I would still be sitting pretty right now, because I don't think that my opponent will be able to outplay me at this point. So as long as Tord can draw something like on this turn, or even maybe the next turn, because Rafal is not going to be attacking this turn, we're probably going to see another Roar of the Sword. We are going to see an Ultra Ball discarding 2 Battle VIP passes. Why are you Ultra Balling this turn, though? What are you getting? Radiant Greninja, isn't his bench full? Or did I misread how many Pokemon are there? No, there's 4. I thought he benched the other Ralt, so I think he has it in hand. And he puts the Greninja into play, doesn't use the ability, and then uses Roar of the Sword. If there's no Psychic Energy in hand, that's fine. But if there was a Psychic Energy in hand, I would have liked to see the concealed cards first. Yeah, there's no Psychic Energy in hand, so that's fine. But of course, now that your hand doesn't have any Psychic Energy, what's the point of getting the Greninja out? When you could have Ultra Balled for maybe a Gardevoir next turn, drawn 2 off of the Kirlia, and then evolved it into Shining Arcana and drawn 2 more. Potentially put one of those energies on the Zacian and you just start swinging. So it looks like Tord did actually get a Kirlia here. He also has an Ultra Ball, so he can go double Kirlia this turn if he would like. He still has the Radiant Greninja inactive as well, so he can concealed cards. So he can draw easily 6 cards this turn. I know there's a Psychic Energy in there to use for the concealed cards. Tord is racking his brain here. Okay, so he used the concealed cards. That's how he drew that Kirlia. So I did think his hand was a little more dead than that. He's going to use the Kirlia, discard the Gardevoir, which is an interesting choice in my opinion. Again, I think that might be his only copy of that. So we're going to Fog Crystal. This will probably get a Ralts. I don't think... Yeah, this isn't the turn to Moonglow reverse. So this will just probably get a Ralts. I don't think he's playing Mew or Klefki at all. I haven't seen those yet in deck. Or he's just going to get the Psychic Energy. That's fine too. Just thin your deck of another energy. Just attach it for turn. You can even put the Zacian down and use Roar of the Sword if you wanted to. I don't agree with it just because that's 2 prizes your opponent could potentially knock you out with a boss's orders. So you don't want your opponent racing you, especially with only 10 minutes left on the clock. You want plenty of time for game 3 if you are going to go to game 3. We are going to see a level ball here as well after grabbing the Psychic Energy off of the Fog Crystal. This will probably get us a Ralts because... or no, it might get us a Kirlia as well. Depends here, because he does have a Ralts in play, so you could Kirlia and draw 2 more cards, and then maybe get the Ralts after that. We do have the Ultra Ball. You could Ultra Ball for the Ralts after you use Kirlia and draw 2 more cards. Yeah, I think I like going for the Kirlia here. Alright, so we do go for the Ralts. Again, or he... Okay, I think he wanted to do both. So he is going to Ultra Ball now. I would have liked to see the Kirlia first, discard, draw 2, and then use the Ultra Ball. I think that would have been the most beneficial way to do it. Oh, but actually, no. Okay, this is even better. So he's going to go for... I keep forgetting he's playing the Luminion. So he's going to go for the Ultra Ball for Luminion for research. And then maybe if he can fill his bench up and play the Collapse Stadium, then maybe we will be able to see that Luminion get discarded here as well. And again, you can see the skill dripping from Tord's hands right now. Yeah, nobody's been playing Luminion in Gardevoir decks, so that makes a lot more sense. Honestly, after this game, I might have to watch this back and just try to get the counts of his deck. I think I already know what it is by now anyway. I can probably just edit my original Gardevoir deck to figure it out. I think he's only playing 1 Shining Arcana. He's playing double Collapse Stadium, and everything else is just pretty self-explanatory for the most part. I might not have it 100%, but I could probably get it within 56 cards without having to try too hard. But we are going to go for the research. We're going to get rid of that Zacian. And we did shuffle the Miriam back in, so we can play that to shuffle those Gardevoirs and the Zacian back in. Tord would prefer to just get completely set up first before he commits any Gardevoirs into play. He is going to be looking for another Kirlia this turn to evolve that second Ralts that we see sitting next to the Kirlia there. Looks like we are going to bench a Manaphy. Do we have the Collapse Stadium? It looks like no. That's a little unfortunate from Tord there. He is going to retreat and just sacrifice the Manaphy. He says, my opponent may be taking a knockout this turn. If they are going to knock out anything, I want it to be this card. He's like, I want it to be Manaphy. My opponent is the only attack that Rafal has in his deck that utilizes hitting the bench is Radiant Greninja's attack, and he doesn't play the Water Energy, which is required to use the attack. So there is no actual attack that Rafal has within his grasp that is able to do bench damage. So the Manaphy just kind of just sits there and does nothing. So it's really good to retreat the Radiant Greninja that you do get a lot of use out of in this deck into the Pokemon that you're not going to get any use out of in this matchup. So we're going to have to see what Rafal decides to do now. Looks like we are going to attach a basic Psychic Energy. Gotta love those new silver bordered ones. We're going to evolve into the Gardevoir without using the Kirlia's... Oh, did we use the Kirlia's? I think we used the Kirlia's ability. I'm just dumb and missed it. We are going to Ultra Ball. There is a Peonia, because you know he's playing that whole Mewtwo V-Union package. He's going to go for the Shining Arcana this turn. He's already used Refinement on his Kirlia, so he might as well just evolve it, get another draw 2 off of that. Maybe he can attach an energy onto his Mew from here, or even onto the Gardevoir. 1... Yeah, the judge is saying that you have to keep them separate from the hand. Because you draw the 2, and if either of them are psychic, you can attach them. So if you just combine them with your hand, like it makes it a little sketchy if you do try to go and attach one of those energies. So it's really good practice, good call on the judge's part there to make him put the hand down, draw the 2 cards, and then add the 2 cards to his hand. And he mistakenly thought the judge was trying to make him reveal them. So we are going to use Psychic Embrace onto the Mew, putting 2 damage counters on it and 1 Psychic Energy from discard so that that can fulfill its retreat cost, allow it to retreat to the bench. And we are going to see Zacian use Storm Slash to take the knockout, doing way more damage than we need to do. That is doing 150 damage to his poor little 70 HP Manaphy. And Rafal is taking the first prize. Now, very important, they have 4.5 minutes left. Do you think that Rafal will be able to take 5 additional prize cards in probably the 2 minutes he has left to play the game? I don't know. He will have +2 turns, because it does go an additional 3 turns. So you finish the turn that you're on, and then 1, 2, 3 more turns. So usually one player has 2 turns, and the other player has 2 turns in order to finish the game up, which is pretty fair. But honestly, if this game were to finish, if they had enough time, I'm still voting Tord for being the one to be able to pull this out. He has... Oh, it looks like Temple of Sinnoh. So I think he's playing 2 Collapsed in Temple of Sinnoh. The Temple of Sinnoh is really good against the Lugia deck because it uses the Single Strike package now. It turns all of those Single Strike energies into single colorless energies. So not only is there no attack bonus for the damage, but also it it makes it so things like Tyranitar and Stonejourner can't even attack because they need colored energies. So it looks like we do see the Temple of Sinnoh and the Judge. Both players are going to shuffle their hands in and draw 4 cards. That's going to limit Rafal's options. He did probably have a big hand at this point since he was able to use his Kirlias and his Gardevoir. I almost thought he drew 5, but it's definitely 4. You can only play 1 stadium card per turn, so even if Tord does draw into the Collapse Stadium at this point, he will not be able to knock that Luminion into the discard, so he'll have to maybe draw Penny on his next turn in order to pick that up. I don't believe that's in his discard pile. We do see his discard is beautifully fanned out here. We are going to go for the Psychic Embrace, put 2 damage counters and 1 Psychic Energy from discard to this Ralts, and we will retreat into the Cresselia, and it looks like this is going to be a Moonglow reverse turn, potentially. There are 3 more Psychic Energies left in the discard pile. We could put 2 more damage counters down there onto the Gardevoir, and then another 2 damage counters onto the other Ralts. And yes, we are going to see Moonglow reverse, and that will knock out the Kirlia. Unless he wants to soften up the Zacian, but I don't think that that's the correct play. And again, only about 1.5 minutes left here. So Tord could potentially use all of this on the rest of his turn. He is going to also hard attach potentially a second energy to this Ralts. He's really thinking about it. I mean, a boss's orders will make it so that energy does really go away easily. So I do think that putting that on the Gardevoir where it's a little more safe is better. And yep, Tord just heals off his entire board while taking a knockout on a Kirlia. So now Rafal can only draw 2 cards this turn with Shining Arcana. So Tord's turn again was perfect. He judged then was able to draw into the pieces to put together a Moonglow reverse. Makes it so Rafal has the 4 cards from Judge, the draw for turn, and the 2 from the Shining Arcana to make his hand as small as possible. He would have been able to draw an additional 2 cards if he had access to that Kirlia, and potentially another 2 more if he were to evolve that into another Shining Arcana after. So by using Moonglow reverse there, makes it so Rafal has potentially 4 less cards than he could have had. Along with getting rid of the big hand he already had as well. So we're seeing the Ultra Ball gets rid of 2 Mewtwo pieces to grab a Mewtwo piece. Pretty good. Of course, no Kirlias in play, so no easy way to discard this piece. And that's another weakness of the Mewtwo V Union version of Gardevoir, is that once you're out of having Kirlias in play, it's really hard to get those Mewtwo pieces in the discard pile. You really have to rely on getting them in there earlier with Kirlia's refinement ability. Otherwise, you're going to have to try to discard them with Ultra Balls. And usually the deck only plays 2 to 3 Ultra Ball, so you're not likely going to see too many of them later in the game. Tord is just separating out his energy cards. Looks like time should have been called at this point, so it's not quite clear on if that was called during Rafal's turn before Tord drew here, or if they're going to call it now. So either way, Tord will be either turn 0 or turn 1. Giving Rafal only 1 to 2 more turns to win this game, and Tord's going to win off of essentially a very long game 1 and an unfinished game 2. For those of you who are unaware of how the time rules work in Pokemon, oh, and there's that Collapse Stadium to get rid of the Luminion, making it so Rafal has the least amount of resources to, or least amount of prize cards on board to take. But time works. You have 50 minutes. Then when time is called, the person whose turn it still is turn 0. If you've declared an attack but your opponent has not yet drawn a card, it is still considered your turn until your opponent draws their card. That starts their turn. And you have 3 more turns after that. So you have turn 0 is the turn you're on. Then your opponent has turn 1. Then you have turn 2. And then your opponent has turn 3, or etc. You know, if it was called on your opponent's turn, they were turn 0, then you have turns 1 and 3. And any game that is not finished, if someone does not take all 6 prize cards, that game does not count. That game is a tie. So since Tord won game 1, and this game 2 is going to be a tie because neither of these players are going to be able to take all 6 prize cards before the end of turn 3, Tord will be the one with more wins in the round and will take the win for the round. It looks like he accidentally puts the Psychic in his discard pile off of the Fog Crystal, and he is going to Level Ball as well to grab Kirlia. And at this point, you could see Tord has thinned his deck very, very well. There is not much left in there, and he is just taking cards out that he doesn't necessarily need, that he could just discard with refinements and the like. Not quite sure what he's digging for on this turn. Maybe the Miriam so that he could just shuffle the... Yeah, maybe the Miriam so he could have shuffled the Shining Arcana or the Zacian V back into the deck so that he could take a knockout this turn and make it so his opponent has the hardest time possible taking the knockout here. But either way, the Gardevoir is able to do 190 damage to the Zacian. It has 30 HP remaining, which means that only 1 more Psychic Embrace can be used on this Zacian V before it would be put into knockout range. And remember, you cannot knock out your own Pokemon with Psychic Embrace. So he has, what, 4 or 5 energy on it right now? So you can have like 5 or 6 after an attach and a Shining Arcana. Yeah, so there's 4. So you can have up to 6 energy this turn. 6 times 3 is 180. So you can do 240, which is not enough to knock out the Gardevoir EX. He would need to knock out the Gardevoir EX this turn because he's... Yeah, if he's turn 1, he would have to knock out the Gardevoir EX this turn, and then, like, Echoing Horn Luminian boss knockout on the next turn in order to win, so he can take 4 prize cards. But it's more than likely that this is turn 3 here for Tord, because it was probably called on Rafal's unfinished turn. And yep, Tord is saying, I'm just gonna pass, and this game goes to a tie, and since Tord won game 1, he has more wins. It's 0 wins to 1 win, so Tord wins the entire match. So, yeah, I don't like that they put their decks just right on the stage there so that you can see what your opponent... I mean, you might as well just have open deck lists at this point if you're going to do that. I do know that it's technically in the rules that deck lists are private unless TPCI wants to stream your match, in which case then your deck list is public knowledge, which is dumb. But anyways, done complaining. Thanks guys for watching. Do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe as always to feed that YouTube algorithm. It helps push these videos out so that other people see them and the channel can keep growing. And we will see you guys next time with round 2.